Welcome to another gripping episode of the Crime Decoder, where we uncover the chilling stories that shake communities to their core. Today, we're delving into a case that's as heartbreaking as it is disturbing: the disappearance and murder of 29-year-old Giulia Traantano, a vibrant young woman whose life was cut short in a small Italian town. This story is not for the faint of heart, so settle in. And let's unravel the twisted web of lies, betrayal, and tragedy that led to a nation's outcry. It was the evening of May 28, 2012, in Senago, a sleepy town just outside Milan. Giulia Traantano, a 29-year-old real estate professional, vanished without a trace. She was 7 months pregnant. Eagerly anticipating the arrival of her first child, her phone, once buzzing with texts and calls to her family and friends, went silent. No responses, no updates, nothing. The sudden absence of communication sent a chill through her loved ones. Her boyfriend, Alessandro Impagniscello, was the first to sound the alarm. He claimed he returned home from his shift as a bartender at a high-end Milan hotel to find their shared apartment empty. According to Alessandro, Giulia was gone, leaving no clue as to where she might have gone. He painted a picture of confusion, telling police and Giulia's family that she'd simply disappeared after a minor argument. But as investigators began to peel back the layers of this case, they found inconsistencies that raised immediate red flags. Giulia's personal belongings, her purse, keys, and even her phone charger remained in the apartment. Her calendar was filled with appointments for the coming days, including doctor's visits for her pregnancy and meetings with clients. Nothing suggested she planned to vanish. More troubling still were the messages Giulia sent the night before her disappearance. In texts to her mother, Laura, and a close friend, she described a heated argument with Alessandro that left her deeply shaken. She wrote of feeling trapped and unsettled, hinting at a growing rift in their relationship. These messages became a critical starting point for investigators, who were left with a haunting question. What happened to Giulia Traantano that fateful night? To understand Giulia's story, we need to go back to her roots. Born on May 2, 1994, in Naples, Giulia Traantano grew up in a warm, close-knit family, steeped in love and tradition. Her parents, Laura and Antonio, instilled in her a sense of independence and self-confidence from an early age. They encouraged her to chase her dreams while keeping family values at the heart of her life. Giulia was a bright, creative child, with a particular talent for the arts. Her teachers noted her ability to think critically and express herself eloquently, traits that would later define her professional success. As a teenager, Giulia developed a fascination with real estate, drawn to the blend of architecture, design, and the opportunity to build a lucrative career. She excelled in her studies, attending a local high school where she stood out for her ambition and charisma. After graduating, she pursued a degree in real estate, honing her analytical skills and mastering the art of negotiation. By age 25, Giulia had earned a strong reputation in Naples' real estate market, known for her professionalism and knack for closing deals. But her ambitions were bigger than her hometown could contain. The local market, while familiar, felt limiting. Stories from friends about Milan's dynamic real estate scene and endless opportunities sparked a fire in Giulia. She saw the city as a chance to reinvent herself, to chase bigger dreams, and to build the life she'd always envisioned. In late 2020, at the age of 26, Giulia made a bold decision. She packed her bags, said tearful goodbyes to her family and friends in Naples, and moved to Milan. The city was everything she'd hoped for: a vibrant hub of opportunity, culture, and ambition. The real estate market in Milan was fast-paced and fiercely competitive, demanding confidence and resilience. Giulia thrived in this environment, quickly adapting to the city's rhythm. She attended networking events, built connections with colleagues, and closed deals that earned her respect in the industry. Her days were filled with client meetings, property tours, and late-night strategy sessions. But she loved the challenge. Yet beneath her professional success, Giulia yearned for personal fulfillment. The hustle of Milan, while exhilarating, left her craving a deeper connection. She wanted love, stability, and a sense of home in this new city. That's when she met Alessandro Impagniscello, a charming bartender who would change the course of her life. Alessandro Impagniscello was a year older than Giulia, born in 1993, and worked as a bartender at a prestigious bar inside a five-star Milan hotel. To the outside world, he was the epitome of charm, confident, outgoing, and effortlessly charismatic. His job put him in contact with Milan's elite wealthy clients, celebrities, and influential business people. Alessandro knew how to work a room, making everyone feel at ease with his quick wit and easy smile. It was at one of these lively evenings, during a celebration with her co-workers, that Giulia met him. Their connection was instant. Alessandro's charm disarmed Giulia, offering a reprieve from the stress of her demanding career. They spent their early days together exploring Milan's vibrant nightlife, sharing meals at cozy restaurants and dreaming about the future. Alessandro confided in Giulia about his past, mentioning a young son from a previous relationship but assuring her it was behind him. To Giulia, he seemed like the partner she'd been searching for, someone who matched her ambition and shared her vision for a bright future. Within months, their relationship grew serious, and they decided to move in together, a step Giulia believed would solidify their bond. Little did she know, Alessandro was hiding a darker side, one that would unravel everything she held dear. Alessandro Impagnicello was a master of appearances. Behind his polished exterior lay a life marked by instability and deception. His role at the upscale bar allowed him to craft an image of sophistication, rubbing shoulders with Milan's high society. To his coworkers, he was likable but elusive, never revealing too much about himself. They described him as fun but shallow, someone who always seemed to be performing. Alessandro was skilled at reading people, knowing exactly what to say to win their trust. His income was steady, but his ambitions were murky, hidden behind a carefully curated persona. As his relationship with Giulia deepened, the cracks in his facade began to show. What started as playful teasing turned into cruel remarks. He mocked Giulia's Neapolitan accent, insinuating that Southern Italians were inferior to their Northern counterparts. He belittled her passion for her favorite soccer team, knowing it was a source of pride for her. At first, Giulia brushed off these comments, chalking them up to his sense of humor. But over time, his behavior grew more controlling. He'd snap at her over trivial matters, how she organized their apartment, the way she responded to his questions, or even her tone of voice. When arguments arose, he'd shut her out, only to act loving and attentive the next day, leaving Giulia confused and emotionally drained. Unbeknownst to Giulia, Alessandro was living a double life. Shortly after moving in with her, he began a secret relationship with Allegra, a young multilingual woman climbing the ranks in the hospitality industry. Alessandro met Allegra at his workplace, where he presented himself as single, claiming his relationship with Giulia was over and that she was merely a temporary roommate. Allegra, unaware of Giulia's existence, believed his story. Alessandro was meticulous in keeping the two women apart, crafting separate narratives for each. To Giulia, he was the devoted partner planning a future together. To Allegra, he was a man moving on from a troubled past, ready to build something new. His ability to juggle these lives was chilling. He'd spend evenings with Giulia, then sneak away to meet Allegra, all while maintaining a facade of normalcy. He fabricated excuses for late nights at work, claiming extra shifts when he was actually with Allegra. Neither woman suspected the other. But Alessandro's double life was a ticking time bomb, waiting for one misstep to unravel. By late 2022, Giulia's life took a transformative turn. She began noticing changes in her body exhaustion, unusual cravings, and a missed period. A pregnancy test confirmed her suspicions. She was expecting a child. The news brought a mix of joy and apprehension. Giulia had always dreamed of starting a family, but her relationship with Alessandro had grown strained. His unpredictable moods and dismissive attitude made her question their future together. Still, she hoped the news would bring them closer. When Giulia shared the news with Alessandro, his reaction was far from what she'd hoped. His face remained expressionless, and after a long pause, he asked only, "Are you sure?" His lack of enthusiasm stung, and in the days that followed, he avoided discussing the pregnancy entirely. No questions about her health, no excitement about the baby, no plans for their future as a family. Giulia felt increasingly isolated, clinging to the hope that Alessandro would come around. Meanwhile, Alessandro's secret life took an even darker turn. Allegra, his other partner, also discovered she was pregnant, panicked by the prospect of two women expecting his children. Alessandro persuaded Allegra to terminate her pregnancy, convincing her it wasn't the right time. She agreed, unaware of Giulia's situation. And Alessandro accompanied her to the procedure, believing it would resolve one of his problems. Giulia, however, was resolute. Despite Alessandro's emotional distance and subtle pressure to reconsider, she chose to continue her pregnancy, determined to embrace motherhood, even if it meant doing so alone. This decision set the stage for a catastrophic unraveling. As Giulia's pregnancy progressed, Alessandra's desperation grew. Her refusal to end the pregnancy threatened his carefully constructed life. Unable to control her, he turned to a sinister solution. In late 2022, Alessandro began researching ways to harm Giulia without arousing suspicion. His internet searches were chilling keywords like undetectable poisons, chemicals causing miscarriage, and how to poison someone without getting caught. He studied substances ranging from cyanide to plant-based toxins, but many were too difficult to obtain or left traceable evidence. Eventually, he settled on rodenticides, rat poisons readily available over the counter. These substances caused symptoms like internal bleeding, weakness, and anemia, which could be mistaken for pregnancy complications. In early 2023, Alessandro began his horrific plan. He laced Giulia's food and drinks with small doses of the poison, hoping to weaken her gradually. Within weeks, Giulia began experiencing alarming symptoms, debilitating fatigue, dizziness, nausea, and sharp abdominal pain. She confided in friends, attributing the symptoms to her pregnancy. Unaware of the true cause, Alessandro monitored her closely. Growing frustrated as the poison failed to produce the rapid results he'd expected, Giulia's resilience and the strength of her pregnancy thwarted his plan, pushing him to consider even more drastic measures. Allegra, meanwhile, began to sense something was off with Alessandro. His vague answers about his past and reluctance to share details about his life raised her suspicions. The turning point came when she stumbled upon recent photos of Alessandro and Giulia on his phone. Intimate images that contradicted his claim that Giulia was out of his life. When confronted, Alessandro doubled down, insisting Giulia was an obsessive ex who refused to move on, even produced a fake DNA test, doctored from an online template to prove Giulia's baby wasn't his. Allegra wanted to believe him, but the inconsistencies piled up. His late-night absences didn't match his coworkers' accounts, and his excuses grew flimsier. Determined to uncover the truth, Allegra took a bold step. While Alessandro slept, she used his phone to contact Giulia. The call was brief, but revealing Giulia's voice carried no malice, only confusion and hurt. The women agreed to meet the next day at Allegra's workplace, a quiet corner of the hotel where Alessandro worked. Their conversation was tense but revelatory. Allegra shared Alessandro's lies, including the fake DNA test, while Giulia confirmed they were still living together and planning a future. The timelines aligned perfectly, exposing Alessandro's double life. Both women realized they'd been manipulated, their trust shattered by a man who played them against each other. The meeting with Allegra was a turning point for Giulia. She saw Alessandro for who he truly was, a deceitful manipulator who'd betrayed her trust and endangered her future. That evening, she confronted him in their apartment, her voice steady but firm. She told him she knew everything, his secret relationship, his lies, and his betrayal. She declared their relationship over and announced her plan to return to Naples, where her family would support her and her unborn child. Alessandro's response was predictable yet chilling. He deflected, then grew defensive, accusing Giulia of invading his privacy. When she refused to engage, packing her belongings in silence, his anger escalated. Her calm resolve stripped him of the control he'd fought so hard to maintain. In a moment of unbridled rage, Alessandro grabbed a kitchen knife and attacked Giulia, stabbing her 37 times in a frenzied assault. The brutality was staggering, and Giulia, caught off guard, had no chance to defend herself. As the reality of his actions sank in, Alessandro stood over her lifeless body, panic setting in, desperate to erase his crime. Alessandro dragged Giulia's body to the bathroom, dousing it with alcohol and setting it ablaze in an attempt to destroy evidence. But the fire failed to consume the remains, leaving blood stains and traces throughout the apartment. In a frantic effort to clean up, he scrubbed the floors, walls, and furniture. But the stains were stubborn, a haunting reminder of his actions. Realizing he couldn't hide the body in the apartment, Alessandro devised a plan to make Giulia's disappearance seem voluntary. He used her phone to send messages to her mother and friends, claiming she needed space and had left of her own accord. The texts were vague, designed to delay suspicion. To further his deception, Alessandro reported Giulia missing to the police hours after the murder. He told investigators they'd argued, and she'd left with her passport and money, suggesting she'd fled Milan. His story was polished, but his calm demeanor and lack of genuine concern raised doubts among detectives. Meanwhile, he moved Giulia's remains multiple times, first to the bathroom, then to the building's basement, and finally to the garage, searching for a way to dispose of them permanently. Each move was riskier, increasing the chances of discovery. Investigators approached Giulia's case with urgency. Early on, they noticed inconsistencies in Alessandro's story. His account of Giulia leaving voluntarily didn't align with her packed schedule or the belongings left behind. Forensic teams made a critical discovery. Traces of Giulia's blood in Alessandro's car, detected through advanced forensic technology, despite his attempts to clean it. Faint bloodstains were also found in the apartment building's hallways and stairwells, initially mistaken for dirt, but confirmed through chemical analysis. Alessandro's behavior further fueled suspicion. Like the frantic worry typical of loved ones in missing persons cases, he remained detached, offering minimal cooperation beyond filing the initial report. He avoided contacting Giulia's family to aid in the search, and made no effort to spread word of her disappearance. Detectives dug deeper, seizing his phone, computer, and tablet. What they found was damning. Months of search history detailing poisons, their effects, and ways to avoid detection. Some searches even explored why certain poisons might fail, indicating Alessandro's frustration with his earlier attempts. The fake DNA test he'd shown Allegra was traced to a website offering editable medical documents, further exposing his deception. Surveillance footage from the apartment building provided another breakthrough. In the days following Giulia's disappearance, Alessandro was seen entering and leaving the garage with heavy bags, returning empty-handed. The evidence was mounting, and investigators were closing in. Under relentless pressure, Alessandro's facade crumbled. Detectives confronted him with the blood evidence, his search history, and witness accounts of shouting from the apartment the night Giulia vanished. Neighbors reported hearing a commotion, and the surveillance footage tied him to suspicious activity. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Alessandro broke, confessing to the murder and revealing where he'd hidden Giulia's remains. On June 1, 2023, police recovered her body in an overgrown area near Sanago. The remains bore signs of attempted burning, but forensic analysis confirmed the cause of death: 37 stab wounds, and linked Alessandro directly to the crime. Giulia Traantano's murder sent shockwaves across Italy, a country already grappling with a high rate of violence against women. Her case became a rallying cry for change, sparking protests in major cities. In Milan, Naples, and Rome, thousands took to the streets, holding signs reading "Justice for Giulia" and "End Domestic Violence." Giulia's sister, Carla Traantano, emerged as a powerful voice, speaking at a Milan rally to demand legislative reforms. She called for stronger protections for vulnerable women and harsher consequences for abusers, emphasizing that many cases escalate to tragedy before action is taken. The public outcry highlighted systemic issues in Italy's approach to domestic violence. Activists pointed to Giulia's case as a stark example of how manipulative partners can hide their true nature, leaving victims unaware of the danger until it's too late. Memorial marches honored Giulia's memory, with participants leaving flowers and candles at makeshift shrines. Her story resonated deeply, a painful reminder of the human cost of unchecked abuse. Alessandro's trial gripped the nation. Prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence: his poison searches, the fake DNA test, the bloodstains, and the surveillance footage. Allegra, a key witness, provided messages that exposed Alessandro's lies to both women. She recounted his attempts to manipulate her with a fabricated DNA test, and his claims that Giulia was out of his life. Her testimony was emotional, marked by guilt for not uncovering the truth sooner. Allegra later left Milan, seeking to escape the shadow of the tragedy. A psychological evaluation painted a chilling picture of Alessandro. Court-appointed psychiatrists diagnosed him with narcissistic personality traits, noting his lack of remorse and deep self-centeredness. He viewed others as tools to serve his interests, reacting with rage when his control was threatened. His actions, from poisoning attempts to the brutal murder, were driven by a need to preserve his carefully crafted image. During the trial, Alessandro claimed the murder was a spontaneous act of anger. But the evidence told a different story. His months-long poison research, manipulation of both women, and attempts to cover up the crime pointed to premeditation. In a unanimous verdict, Alessandro was convicted of first-degree murder. With aggravating factors for the crime's brutality, his prolonged emotional abuse of Giulia, and his efforts to destroy evidence, the judge sentenced him to life in prison, stating that his actions were a calculated betrayal of trust, inexcusable by any claim of emotional distress. Giulia's family, though devastated, found some solace in the verdict, hoping it would send a message to others. Giulia Traantano's story is a tragedy of lost potential, a young woman with dreams, ambition, and a fierce determination to build a better future for herself and her unborn child. Her courage in standing up to Alessandro's manipulation and choosing motherhood, despite his betrayal, inspired a movement. Advocacy groups across Italy used her case to push for reforms, including better training for law enforcement, to recognize early signs of domestic abuse, and stricter penalties for manipulative behaviors that escalate to violence. For Giulia's family, the pain of her loss remains raw. Her mother, Laura, and sister Carla have become advocates in their own right, sharing Giulia's story to raise awareness and prevent similar tragedies. Legra, haunted by her unwitting role in the deception, chose to step away from the public eye, reportedly relocating to start anew. The case left an indelible mark on Sanago, Milan, and beyond, a stark reminder of the dangers hidden behind charming facades. Giulia Traantano's life was stolen by a man she trusted, but her story has ignited a spark for change. Her strength, resilience, and love for her unborn child continue to inspire those fighting for justice and safety. As we reflect on this tragedy, we're reminded of the importance of listening to those quiet cries for help, of recognizing the signs before it's too late. If Giulia's story moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe for more true crime documentaries. Until next time, stay vigilant and take care.